Hello, everyone. Welcome to Nails and Beauty Talk. I am your host, Asia the Bird. Today, I have a very special guest with me today. She's an illustrator, design, and art director. Please welcome Arielle Wilkins. Hello, Arielle. Welcome to the show.
Hello. Thank you for having me.
You are most welcome. So I want to go ahead and kick off this interview by asking about where you're originally from and how you get started into the realm of art.
So I'm originally from Houston, Texas. And when it comes to me being within the arts, I want to say I've been in arts like all my life. My dad was actually an arts administrator and he worked at various nonprofits. So I was exposed at an early age to like artists and musicians and just like anyone within the arts. I even remember being enrolled into art classes at age 7. So I ended up even going to a middle school for art and then an arts high school. And that's when I ended up at like arts college. So I really don't see myself doing anything else beyond like the arts.
Yeah, most definitely. I was the same way. I was like art was like something I was attracted to the most. Like it wasn't like social studies or like any other subject. Like I got into art when I was like little and I took it seriously around like my 10th grade, which was in high school. So art was like my whole go-to for expression and things like that. You know, I'm like the same way. So in terms of with your art, like who really inspired you to get into art? Like who are like your inspirations, like in terms of artists or anybody in your family? Like who really inspired you?
So when it comes to like inspiration, I'm probably just gonna go back to my dad. Like yeah, he was just very creative and expressive. Um, when in terms of like actually like visual artists, one of my favorite illustrators is actually the illustrator who designed a lot of the Parliament Funkadelic albums, which is Pedro Bell.
Right.
And
Yeah.
and I just remember my dad had basically all their albums. So I would just like look at the illustrations and
Mm.
how eccentric and colorful they were, using all these crazy like Black characters. And I'm like, I want to do that. So yeah, that was the biggest like inspiration, like when it comes to like how I developed like my style. I
Mm.
just remember specifically in high school, I had this whole like 70s thing going on where all my characters looked like straight from the 70s with colorful afros and eccentric
Right.
bodies. It definitely kind of went back to me just referencing his work a lot.
Yeah, I got inspired by Pedro Bell too. Like when I first heard of Pedro Bell, like in his work is absolutely amazing. Like like the covers of Parliament Funkadelic, like how you said, is so like creative and
Mhm.
it's so imaginative. And those are like memorable like album covers. You know,
Right.
that's really, really cool. And especially I got inspired by other artists like Salvador Dali, Kirby Rosanes, Martin Whitfuth. I hope I said his name right. Also I got inspired by another illustrator. He's another artist that works with a lot of pen and ink, and he does a lot of these like shiny type of insects. His name is Alex Conahan, and his stuff is really, really good. So yeah, like there's a lot of inspiring artists out there and people, you know, especially from the past and from the present, that we can all take inspiration from. Now, in terms of, I want to go ahead and start off asking about your art direction. So what made you decide to become an art director?
Well, so that's a great question, just because I don't want to say like I landed into it,
Mm-hmm.
but I like designing, but also love like being like, I don't want to say like telling people like my ideas of how scenery should look, but that's
Right.
kind of the truth.
Mhm.
um, and luckily at my past position, I had the opportunity to actually art direct for the first time for like a short form series.
Mhm.
Just because like I love collaborating and I love like just showing my mindset and bringing it to a broader perspective. And I
Mhm.
feel like that like art direction position gave me like the opportunity to do so.
Mhm.
Um, so it kind of like landed in front of my face. So I've
Right.
been stuck in the design realm for so long, but also love designing and concepting. So I think art direction was like the next step.
Mhm. Yeah, most definitely. Now, I also want to talk about your brand, Brothers and Sisters, because I like the brand of, especially the name of it. So, also, like, you sell T-shirts and pins and different products in your store. You're also a designer, and so I want you to talk about your company, Brothers and Sisters, and how did you come up with the name?
So with brothers and sisters, I actually that whole concept developed at my during my senior year of college.
Mm,
Um, I think when it came to just me being a designer and where I want my path as a designer, I always wanted to combine design with product design and just combine illustration and art with like graphic design.
right,
So my original concept was originally to develop a set of toys, kind of like the Funko toys, but it kind of was more targeted towards like Black folks, us.
right,
They
exactly.
all had these different personalities. And so I did the illustrations first. And then I was like, well, I need a name. And I think I forgot where I heard brothers and sisters. I think it was like, I want to say it was a parliament, not parliament, but uh, Public Enemy
Mhm,
uh, tag from one of their songs.
mhm,
Uh, and I was like, oh, brothers and sisters, that might be it. So I developed a logo and I developed all these characters. I even like just set them on t-shirts and like pins just to give an overall branding concept for my thesis.
mhm,
And right before I graduated, my professor was like, just keep working with this because you have something here.
mhm.
And I guess over the years, it's just developed over time and it
Right.
became this gigantic explosion of just like whatever comes to my mind.
Mhm. Yeah, I kind of like the name because it kind of has that eccentricness to it, especially with the name Brothers and Sisters, not brothers and sisters. It's
Exactly.
like it has that, it connects us with the lingo, brothers and sisters. Like, hey, what's up, brother? What's up, sister? You know what I mean?
Exactly.
So
Exactly.
I kind of like how it maintains that essence of eccentricness within, especially with us being Black. So I find that to be very, very cool and interesting. Now, in terms of having an art business, what advice would you give for someone who wants to start an art business, especially getting into the marketing side of it?
So if you want to start art business, I definitely say start small. And
Mhm,
I learned this along the way, just because I have a lot of ideas in my brain. And because of that, I have a lot of unfinished projects. And I I started like kind of reducing the amount that I produce just because I wanted to just get my name out there first.
mhm,
So to start out with like one or two pieces, definitely have social media because
mhm.
one thing I love about Instagram is that like I have my own art gallery. That's how I see it.
Right.
Just because, especially being in the art world, is very like limited and kind of whitewashed. So it's all about who you know. But
Mhm,
with Instagram, you can easily connect to a bunch of people, like basically everybody. So that's probably like the main things. Is just start small and just definitely utilize social media.
mhm. Yeah, I can definitely agree. Now, in terms of like with t-shirts, because how I've mentioned before, you have your own line of t-shirts based on the brand Brothers and Sisters. And I wanted to really ask, like, what are some of the best like sites you can recommend in terms of, especially when one wants to start their own t-shirt line?
So definitely drop shipping is probably the best bet for any sort of t-shirt. So I highly recommend Printful.
Mhm,
And this was just me doing like a bunch of just different runs from various drop shipping services. They are pretty on point when it comes to colors and the quality.
mhm,
Um, they're also great with customization.
mhm,
You can add your own like labels to the back of the shirts.
mhm,
Uh, they're probably like the only people I use for like a lot of my shirts.
mhm.
Besides like Silk Screen, that's like a whole other thing. But Printful, yeah, 100%.
Yeah, yeah. I heard of Printful, and I had thoughts about starting my own clothing line. Especially the art that I do, because and it's really cool, to add art onto different things. Whether it's nails, whether it's t-shirts, and you can add to so many different things. And the avenue is so like huge. Like the whole realm of art is so huge. Especially what you could put it on. Now, how could you describe your art style?
Whew. If I had to give it, it's so funny because I've been asked that so many times. I'm still trying to like define the exact way. It's definitely like eccentric and bold, and very imaginative. I guess for me, like, and I want to just show like us in other perspectives, if they're like space cadets or like wizards or just having like crazy stuff growing from the hair. It's just like I'm an eccentric person, so I want my work to be very eccentric.
Mm. Yeah, most definitely. That's kind of the same with me. I want my stuff to be eccentric, but also, you know, like for me also is to have that sense of inclusivity too.
Exactly.
You
Yeah.
know, because I think inclusivity is very, very important. You know, when you add that to your artwork, it gives a lot of a good representation, but it's also too, you do want to maintain, you know, your own representation, which is Black representation in your work. So I think that's also important too. Now I want to get into in terms of art school. So you went to the School of Visual Arts, majoring in graphic design. So I want you to talk about your whole experience in pertaining to majoring in graphic design, and what are some pieces of advice would you give for someone who wants to get into the realm of graphic design?
So my whole experience at SVA was actually pretty good. Despite the student loans in the end, I
Mm,
have no regrets. I have to say, like, they gave you the tools, basically to run with on your own when you graduate. And one thing I definitely loved about the program was the chairman of the department. He cared so much about all the students, and his job, or no, not his job, but his goal was to get everyone hired when they graduated.
mm,
So he gave us the necessary like tools and amazing professors
mm,
to just guide us into these like really great like companies once we graduated.
right,
Um, and when it comes to, because I went to like a for-profit school, of course I had to take out, it's very expensive. I
right.
tell a lot of like people who want to like go to into design, you don't have to go to like a private or for-profit school. It's basically all about what you do with the tools you learn. So you can go to a public school, you can even go to like community college. Like it's just like how do you use what you were taught in the real world. Like
Mm.
that's like basically my like advice.
Yeah, yeah, most definitely. Now, what has been like your favorite like programs, like graphic programs to use like when creating illustrations?
So my favorite, all-time favorite is definitely Illustrator. Me and the pen tool are best friends.
Mm,
uh, it's it's just very easy for, because like a lot of my work is very vectorized. So like,
mm,
especially when it comes to me like having to have different sizes, if it's all vectorized, it's just easy to like extend or like decrease, increase, change the colors if I need it. Especially when it comes to freelance work, like I can easily switch around colors if I need to, like switch around like different outlines if I need to. So like Illustrator's like my go-to.
yeah, I was the same when I was in college. I went to Savannah College of Art and Design in Georgia, and I was in love with Illustrator, but also Photoshop too. Illustrator was like, that was the program to do like vectorized art and stuff like that. And I took a break from Illustrator for a while, and I worked with Affinity Designer, which is another vector program, which is an alternative to Illustrator. But I got Illustrator back as of recently, so I'm planning to work back into Illustrator. But Illustrator is a really good program, especially with Affinity and
Mhm.
Photoshop. And you know, when you have those programs at your disposal, you can do different things with it. So I think that's really, really fantastic.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Now,
Also, I also do want to say Procreate too. I started using Procreate and I'm like, where have this been all my life? Like that's another tool I definitely
right.
just recently started like loving as well.
Yeah, I haven't tried Procreate yet. Is it like very good? Is it just like Illustrator?
It's more like Photoshop. So you get all these different brushes and like color palettes. I like it just because it is more handheld. I don't have to be in front of my like Mac doing stuff. I can easily just be on my iPad sketching if I want.
Oh, okay, that's cool. That's cool. I
Mhm.
have to try Procreate down the line. Because I know there's a lot of people, especially illustrators, using that type of program. and
Yeah,
think,
I highly recommend.
yeah, yeah. But the only thing too is kind of like it's only on the pad instead of it being like it's not on the computer. You can download it.
Yeah, that's the only downfall. I think for me, like if I'm just on the go or if I'm like traveling, I just like having it like
Hmm.
to me, like, but if I'm at home, I'm always like usually on my MacBook.
Hmm.
It's like a pro and con.
Yeah, yeah, that's the thing. Yeah. Now I want to get into supporting businesses. So how important is to support Black owned art businesses?
Extremely important. Mainly because like we have that kind of challenge already, like compared to like bigger box company businesses. It's
Hmm.
already also hard to get like funding and grants and even being exposure.
Hmm.
Um, if you just want like individual personal quality, I highly recommend Black owned small businesses.
Hmm.
Um, it I have to say like over the years it has been a hurdle just to get to where I am, just because I've always felt like a lot of folks are always going to like the well-known brands, and overlooking the same type of quality, but it's like on a smaller scope.
Hmm.
Um, so when I'm starting to see like more smaller brands getting like the hype that it deserves, that just makes me happy. So
Yeah.
it's just like we need more of that. We need more of that, like, you know, uplifting, you
Mhm.
know.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that. There's a lot of, Black illustrators and designers, fashion designers, a lot of Black artists that are putting their work out there and establishing their own business. Like for me, like I'm selling like press-on nails on my own store on Etsy. So yes, I'm getting more into, establishing my own business. And I think that's very important for us as Black people, and especially, creatives, because I think it's understanding also like what you're worth, understanding, to put in a lot of the time in, and the money will come last. So it's just also producing a good quality body of work. But definitely support is definitely important, because we're spending our dollar with each other.
Exactly. We need it. We need to like support ourselves,
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah, that's the thing. And that's very, very important. Now, what is your whole take in terms of like the progression of art and where it's going, in your personal opinion?
I think actually I'm very happy with where it's going. It seems like we're getting more spotlight, like we're getting more beyond just Black History Month, like we're being
Right.
shown everywhere. It's becoming more inclusive,
Right.
like different faces, different perspectives.
Mm.
Like I'm actually very glad that like over the last couple of years it's just like like more voices are being heard.
Right.
It's just it's about time. It's definitely about time.
Yeah, I could definitely agree, and I really appreciate where it's going too. It's so many avenues, brand new techniques that you learn every day, and brand new arts you learn every day. And especially there's people now that are not only getting into cryptocurrency, but also another form of that is NFTs. So where, you take your art and you sell it, as like a form of crypto. So and people have told me about it, and I think that's a very cool thing. So I think also too, I think some of us as Black artists should consider getting into NFTs. I've thought about it myself. So I think it's really, really cool. There's different ways of how to make money with your art, especially also with nails. Like, me as a nail artist, art is, on nails. Like nails is a form of art. So, and it could be sellable and it could be wearable. So yeah, it's really cool. I can most definitely agree with that.
Excellent. Yeah, like NFTs, I'm looking into that as well. I'm just like, it's like the Wild Wild West to me for some reason. So
Right.
that's like number one on my goal is just to create some NFTs. Because I just never heard of just like digital like work in that like scope.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Like the whole like I have a friend who's like all about tech and he was just telling about like they had to mine and all of that. And I'm like, what? Like what? So it's a whole other world I'm like currently learning.
Yeah, yeah, that's the same with me. I'm still learning and getting to know NFTs too. So, because I see certain artists now that are, jumping on board with NFTs and selling their work, for X amount of profit. So, but yeah, it's getting more digital and digital and digital.
It's gonna be holograms next. Just wait in a
Yeah,
couple years.
yeah, that's going to be absolutely crazy. Now, how important is mental health? Because, we as business people or creatives, we have to juggle so many different hats. So what is your whole take on the importance of maintaining mental health?
So it's that I'm starting to learn that like recently, just because, like you said, like I in particular balance a lot, especially with the full-time job, doing freelance and a side business, and also trying to have like a social life. It could
Mm-hmm.
be very overwhelming,
Mm-hmm.
especially when it comes to my work. There's times where I put myself down with my own work, like why it's not progressing the way I want it, why didn't it come
Right.
out. Like I recently just got a therapist, and is already I'm starting to feel like just more at ease.
Right.
You just I feel like you also, if you need to make yourself feel better, like in order for you to create the work that you want to work.
Exactly.
um and also, I do want to add in that like a couple years ago, my father even passed away, and I
Mm-hmm.
was like in a dark space. I couldn't create at all. It was just tough. Like, so my mental health was like at a low. um but it's just like, even with, if you want, like I started like creating again just to make myself feel better. It's just, it should be a top priority when it comes to creating like your mental health. Like I can't see myself functioning if I'm not mentally okay.
Yeah, yeah. I think that's very, very important too. And I definitely, I am sorry about your dad, and my condolences are to you and your family. And the whole thing is, I think this is very, very important, especially talking about mental health. And I'm glad with our generation, we're talking about it more and expressing about it more. And I like how you mentioned that, you're seeking therapy, to help balance things out, and, talking things out, and just trying to, find that space to create again.
Mhm.
And the thing is also too, I felt that same way too. Like, okay, I'm posting this work of art that I did and I'm proud of it. I'm like, okay, why is it not going the way I want it to go? Why is it not getting a lot of likes and things like that? And sometimes it's easy to get caught up in that, like, oh, it's not getting a lot of likes, so it must not be all that great. But that's not always the case. So it could be like, the algorithm that's just messing with messing with the post.
Algorithms.
Darn you algorithms.
Exactly.
Like, god damn it. But it's like, it could be also too, like, it's just you haven't found like the right audience, or the audience hasn't came to you that can appreciate it yet. So
Mhm.
just because it doesn't have a lot of likes doesn't mean it's not a good body of work.
Exactly. Yeah, I actually told myself over time, because like Instagram, like just seeing other people work, it can be like very self like discouraging, but you have your own unique style. Like, why would you want to blend in? Like, and that's kind of what I told myself, which is why how I'm still going.
Yeah, yeah. And that's the thing too, and it's maintaining and sticking, being true to yourself and with your own style. And that's like with me, and I know, like, I've been told, like, you got to give people what they want. And of course, give people what they want, and what they're attracted to. But also, I think it's maintain that balance, give people what they want but also stay true to yourself and what you do. So as long as you do that and understand how to balance that, and especially I'm trying to balance that myself. So, as long as you can balance that, I think that would be, you can still deliver both ends of the spectrum.
100. Exactly. Preach.
Yeah, so that's the thing with that. Now, how would you define success?
Hmm. I guess personally for me, success is not really, definitely not about money.
Mm-hmm.
It's just getting my work to hit like an audience, whether it's like one person or 10 people, 5 people. If they have some sort of reaction that they're connected with, that makes me feel like I'm succeeding.
Right.
um I have to say, like, especially when I vend my work at like just different events, the best thing I love seeing is, so particularly kids reacting to my work.
Mhm.
I remember one time I was like selling some prints, and this little
Mhm.
girl walked up and started freaking out, and she pointed to an illustration of like a woman with like flowers in her hair, and she was like, "Oh my god, it looks like you, mommy!" Like she was like so excited, and that to me, I'm just like, that is why I keep going. It's just like I want people to see themselves. I want little kids to be see their parents or their future selves with my work. And for me, that's like how that's just me winning. Like I feel like I'm winning with that.
Yeah, yeah, most definitely. Yeah, and also too, like, not only kids, but people that look at your work can have that appreciation, and I was, the same way, like where people look at my work and say, like, oh, your work is good, and and I get that feeling of like appreciation, because it's like it motivates me like to stick truly to who I am in my own art style, because that's what makes me. And with my style is like very abstract, but I like to add characters and different objects and things of that nature, and that's something that I love to do, and that's just my art style. And you have your own art style too, and I really love like the bright vivid colors. I like how you play with like the galaxies and different black hairstyles. I think that's really cool too. And so I think when you maintain your authentic self, I think that's what people are attracted to. It's learning to stand out and not to fit in.
Exactly. Stand out.
Yes, stand out. But yeah, but last but not least, where can people find you on social media, and how can people support your business?
So you can find me on Instagram at a wilkie wilk. Also have a website, awilkiewilk.com.
Mhm.
I recently had to retire Brothers and Sisters just because I want to like redirect it more towards me as the artist.
Mhm.
So my shop will be open in the spring. And once I open, you can like easily go to awilkiewilk.com and click shop, or you can go to store.awilkiewilk.com.
Okay, that's cool. That's cool. Now, thank you so much for jumping onto the show. Your work is absolutely incredible. I followed you for a few years. Thank you so much for supporting me and my work. And I'm definitely down for collaboration down the line. And yeah, just keep up the good work. Your work is absolutely great. You're such an inspiration to many young Black girls around the world. So it's just keep up the good work. Thank you so much.
Thank you for having me. It was awesome talking with you.
Yeah, it was amazing talking with you too. Now take care.
You too. Bye.
Bye bye. Hello, everyone. Thank you so much for watching. Please like, comment, share, and subscribe to the channel. Be sure to click the bell for notifications. Also, follow me on my social media platforms and visit my website, ASIATHABIRD.com, and be on the lookout for more interviews to come very soon. Take care and stay beautiful.